Councilmember Lisa Lake.
Here.
Councilmember Brett Hansen.
Here. Here.
Thanks, Melissa. Let's see, amendments to the agenda. It was okay with the council. I'd like to move item 6C, which is the ordinance adopting campaign finance limitations to first. That way Carolyn can get off the phone. And is everybody okay with that? So I need a motion. I'll make a motion to move it up on the agenda. I was told I need to do that.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Public comment. Melissa, I understand we might have somebody on public comment.
He apparently is not on our Zoom yet. Wait, he just is? Okay, so we have Jay Mendoza from Poudre Valley REA for public comment.
Okay. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, good evening, Jay Mendoza. Can you hear me?
Yes, Jay, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, Poudre Valley REA. Come to you guys just with some good news. Our board recently passed another rate decrease, and this is a second in 2 years. The last decrease was last April, and then this rate decrease is effective to your town residents that are within Poudre Valley service area and members of Poudre Valley. That average decline in rates, residential rates, is 2.8%. So it's residential and commercial rates. To the council meetings very often, but I thought we as an organization felt this was something we're very proud of. Obviously from the top down with our board of directors passing this rate decrease, which will pump up about $3.8 million back into savings of Poudre Valley members within our service area.
Great, Jay. Thank you. That's great news.
Yeah. So just wanted to stop in and share that news with you guys. Start your meeting with a little bit of good news.
Awesome. It's always good to start with good news. Anything
All right.
further, Jay?
That'll be it. Thank you for your
Great.
time. You guys have a good meeting.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Bye-bye.
No one else.
Okay. Consent agenda. Any questions or comments? Could I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda passes unanimously. Mayor and council reports. Lisa?
I wanted to let the public know and then also thank Poudre School District for allowing myself and I know some other council members and town staff were able to tour the new Timnath Middle High School. And so that was a great opportunity to see a great addition to our community. And I think it's going to be great when it opens. It's definitely still a work site for those who are wondering or who have kids who are trying to look at it as well. But I'm super, super excited. I'll have 2 kids there next year. So the school district's done a great job with that project, and same with town staff. I know they've put a lot of time and effort into that as well. So I just wanted to thank everyone.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. Anybody else? Okay. Finance report. Lisa, do you have anything to add? Lisa's not here. Okay. Don, engineering report. Do you have anything to add? Okay. Matt, community development report, anything? And Chief Jones, do you have anything to add in your police report? Okay, thank you. Okay, for business, ordinance number 5, series 2022, an ordinance adopting campaign finance limitations for candidates for elected town offices. Carolyn, I don't, unless anybody, I think we're gonna have a discussion. We saw your report and it looked great. We talked about this last time, so I don't know as we need any further elaboration on that other than let the council talk about what they'd like. Yes? She's not? I don't think we're gonna need her, quite frankly, so. So here, let me state her concern. I had a chance to talk to Carolyn, and her concern is that we're changing the limit on political parties below what it is for a person. And she's concerned on, would we get any pushback from a political party for that? And I will say, we passed that through, and I did vote for it, but I'd feel much better at the 1250. But I am totally fine if this. I understand the optics. Are the optics for the dollar is we don't want them here, and putting that in. The optics for the 1250 is we're treating everybody on the same playing field, and quite frankly, I can make an argument for both optics. So I'll throw it to the rest of the council here.
Because we're a nonpartisan election, I didn't see any reason to bring politics in R's and D's. And this council can always go back and change this if a political party walks through that door and says, oh, we demand to get involved in this thing. Kind of deal. And it sends out a message of trying to get candidates to go out and get the political party to contribute to them that I don't think we want. And the same with political action committees. I don't think you want Banner Hospital, and I say Banner Hospital not as a bad example. When I worked for Banner Hospital in my past life, I created a PAC there where I contributed to legislative candidates, but those are partisan races. This isn't a partisan race. And if the attorneys tell me that there's a legal reason not to do this, then I would say, yeah, let's not do this. But if it's just a case of trying to have it on there, come in with a good reason and we'll put it back in there.
Do you mind if I speak to this?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lori.
Just very briefly, we don't have a really great legal reason. What we have is all of our neighbors did the $12.50 and nobody did $1. And so we thought if we keep it safe, we won't get sued. That's, that's not a great legal reason. That's just common sense. So.
Thanks, Lori.
Let me respond to that. We, council, remember we'd even talked about putting it 0 and just taking that line right out of the thing. So political parties and PACs are not even mentioned, and that would do the same thing.
Any other comments, Brett?
I'll put that I certainly agree with all the sentiments that Rick's expressed. I certainly would like to do everything we can to keep this a nonpartisan body. I think we just function better that way. But at the same time, I don't think 1250 is an amount that's going to dominate an election. I mean, you can't even do a single mailer to the community now at this with that amount. And so I think it's worth it to kind of follow the crowd on this one. And if a individual receives a lot of donations from a political party, well, that can become public knowledge and the community can make a judgment on that when they vote. So I'm fine with the staff recommendation of matching political party and PACs with the individual limits.
Lisa.
I'm more inclined to agree with Rick on this one. I think a lot of the local communities around us have partisan elections, Fort Collins as an example. So we're also looking at the limitations based on county officials, which we're not county officials either. So I know we're just kind of using that. And so I would say if we are legally able to keep it low or prohibit it, then I would be more likely to side with that part.
Do you want to weigh in, Aaron?
I don't really care one way or the other.
Yeah,
On this advertise, so I'll go with the flow on this one. So,
I mean, I don't know how everyone, I mean, I don't want to push an agenda on this either. So, Rick and Lisa, I mean, how The only reason I go 1250, difference between $1 and 1250 is nominal, and or is 1150. 12. Yeah. And we didn't have the lawyers research it just because by the time we research it, we spent a bunch of money on legal fees trying to research the thing out. And to save us from having to deal with it in the future. But that all said, I am fine with $1 too. So it's really the emotion, whatever,
let me
that
just,
you guys feel on it.
Yeah, let me just add this. We have an election coming up. And in that election, the parties could get involved if they wanted to right now, kind of thing. They're not clamoring to do that. But if you look at what's going on nationally in that, you're going to see that we're hyper political in terms of division. If you open this can of worms, just remember, you might open something you don't want to open at some point. And I can assure you, if I was running this time instead of 4 years ago, and I thought about it, I might have went to the party. And if I had friends at the party, I would have got my $1,250 and I might have got $5,000.
Well, you could have gotten any number you wanted.
You could have got any number you wanted to. So it's sort of scary. And if there's not a legal reason, I'll go with the majority like anybody else on this thing because it's not going to end the world. But remember, when we say that, you've got the ability to change this thing anytime you want to. So let the political parties or let that PAC come in and convince you that they've been shortchanged some way instead of going ahead and giving them the ability to write a check. And what they'll do probably is if they get into that bind, the PACs will try to write a check for everybody running so they don't alienate people. And the parties will say, God, we'd better contribute because our guy or gal's got to have equal footing to somebody else who's going to run as a Republican or a Democrat. So it's just a can of worms I don't want to see opened up, but yeah, I understand everybody's position on it.
Brett?
Can I just make sure I understand kind of how this legal process would play out? If we set it as at $1 and we had a political party show up, it doesn't have to end up as a legal proceeding. A council could just decide at that point, match an individual limit, and that'd be the end of it, right? It wouldn't have to be any kind of further legal expenditure for the town.
Hopefully they would come and talk to us and we could amend our code first. They might just sue us and then there's the cost there, but yeah, we'd settle and the settlement would be we fix it. So we would have some legal fees, possibly if they weren't, nice enough to just come and have a conversation with us about it.
Okay.
That's too good not to jump on. Remember, our charter is nonpartisan. I don't know what grounds they would have to sue us if the people of this community is a nonpartisan in their charter.
I think the issue there is that we didn't go into the great research that we probably would, that we sort of wanted to do. So
I don't even think
I
you have
can't
to
honestly
research.
tell you.
I just want to add one thing. I think that if one of our candidates ran as a Democrat or Republican, that would not be very smart of them because they're going to alienate half the town. So you know what? The more Rick talks, the more I agree with him. And I think leave it as $1.
Okay. So so the question is, do I have an amendment to it, which would take? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 5, series 2022, and ordinance adopting campaign limitations for candidates for elected town offices? Wait, just a sec. Before we do that, do we have any public comments? Okay.
I would like to make that motion and keep it with $1 for the PACs and $1 for political parties.
Okay, do I have a
So
second?
we're going to do a motion to approve the resolution and then we'll do a motion for the amendment for the $1.
We're not making them.
I understand the way it's drafted. It's
Oh, it is. Oh, okay, sorry.
$1.
I thought it was,
We're not
I thought we had drafted it the other way, so.
No.
Yeah, the staff recommendation.
Sorry
was
about that.
Well, we passed some first reading at $1.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, good discussion, everybody. Okay, resolution number 7, series 2022, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Berthoud concerning a joint agreement for animal control services for Larimer Humane Society. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. And I know probably some of you are wondering why we have an IGA with Berthoud for joint services on animal control, but I will hopefully explain that one here quickly.
Actually, you did a really good job on the report. No, really, you did. I didn't understand it until I read it. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Currently right now, the town basically operates animal control through a combination of the police department and our code enforcement officer. Neither of which are truly trained as animal control officers. It just kind of fell into the seat of their laps as time has gone. And actually over the years, last couple of years, we've gotten increased calls for animal complaints, things like that, to where it takes away from our police officers' time and our code enforcement officers' time. So we had reached out to the Humane Society about a year ago to talk about, potentially contracting with them for full scope of services like they provide to Fort Collins and Loveland. And at the time, that just was not feasible because we were too small of a town and it didn't quite make sense. But luckily, about the same time, Berthoud came to the table to them as well, kind of asking for the same services. And thankfully, the Humane Society kind of came to both of us and said, you know what, we've got an option that we can combine both of you guys for services to where you'll share a animal control officer 5 days a week for 40 hours that will then respond to any animal control issue in Timnath or Berthoud. We then also have the ability of their dispatch. So any town resident can call and they will be able to get a hold of somebody over the Humane Society to either answer questions or then issue a complaint to then have an officer respond to. So it actually increases the service to residents right now, because currently with the way our contract is with the Humane Society is that any animal complaint has to be called in by a representative of the town. Residents don't have that ability to do that currently. So this actually gives our residents a little bit more knowledge that they can get a better response time on some issues that they might have. So town, this year we actually had budgeted $60,000 for this. But in doing these discussions and contract with both Berthoud and us, that actually takes us down to just over $34,500 is Timnath's share of this joint services for the Humane Society. Tonight, we actually have our resident Timnath Humane Society representative, Judy Calhoun. She lives here in town. And then we also have Rigo Niera. He's on Zoom with us. He's actually the director of animal control. So if any of you have any questions for one or both of them, they'd be happy to answer them for you.
Okay. Lisa.
I'm just wondering, I looked at the cost and I saw that even in our financials, we had $300 in Q4 that was put towards that. Have we been tracking how many calls that town staff have made to the Humane Society for help with that? Or in addition to that, how many calls the town has gotten for assistance? And if not, this first year, would we be tracking all of that so that we can see how well our money is being spent for that?
So the amount of calls, we've actually tried to limit the amount of calls that go to the Humane Society just because it's based off of, as you mentioned, we have to make those calls to get there. And Terry and his crew do a pretty good enough job, depending on the call, to help mitigate that issue. And our code enforcement officer tries his best to mitigate that. So that's why there's not many calls that do go to the Humane Society right now, just because they mainly funnel through code enforcement and PD, and then they're generally resolved by both of those. I can't really speak for Terry on the amount of calls the PD gets, but our code enforcement officer and any animal related gets calls that range from 2 to 8 a week. Typically they're mainly dogs barking, animal welfare type things, and that's generally not in his range and scope to really handle just because he's not trained for it. But we do kind of get around that too. And then, yeah, on some extreme cases during COVID and people being home more, there was times where he was getting around 8 calls a week about barking and animal welfare.
Okay, great. Hopefully we'll track it going forward, I'm guessing too, so that we'll have numbers at the end of, that year. One other comment I saw in there about that some of the budget is for community outreach. And I'd just like to maybe request that we put definitely reach out to the people who have the livestock, because I saw that in there as well. And I know that there are times where there's cows in the park and things like that. So I'd really like those owners just to be aware of kind of that process so that they know as well. And I know there's only a handful of those situations maybe with some of the livestock.
Yep, and Rigo, if he's still on, I think he might be able to chime in on that one, but I'm pretty sure we could try and get some outreach to some of them as well, because I think that's a majority of the PD's call is that there's livestock somewhere in town.
Really? There's livestock in this park?
Or in the road on, yep, right in the middle of the road. Sometimes there's been some things, yeah.
Interesting. All right. Anything further, Lisa?
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
I just have
Aaron?
one comment. I think it's wonderful that we're saving some money on this and we get better service. I know a friend of mine, he's a Fort Collins police officer, and he's got a problem with his neighbor's dog all the time. And I think it'd be great to have this available to them as residents.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. Do I have a motion to, well, let's see, it's a public hearing. So any public hearing? Okay. So do I have a motion for resolution number 7, series 2022 to approve?
I move to recommend approval of the IGA with the town of Berthoud concerning a joint agreement for animal control services with Larimer Humane Society.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I didn't catch your names, but thanks for showing up and being available to us to discuss this. So thank you. Sure, go ahead. You go up there. There's a little looks like a face there. Push it and you're set.
Got it.
There you go.
Got it. Thank you, Mayor. I'm Judy Calhoun. I'm the CEO of Larimer Humane Society. And yes, indeed, I do live half a block from here. Very pleased to be a Timnath resident. And I just want to say how pleased we are to be providing this service to both the town of Timnath and Berthoud. We're really excited about it. So thank you very much. We appreciate the confidence, and we will do I am pleased to say that I'm confident we will do a fantastic job for our community. So
And I'm sure you will. And this is, I think, well thought through plan and resolution. So thank you. Okay. Next, we have a resolution appointing Jeremy Holt to the Planning Commission, alternate. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. We actually had 2 applicants for our planning commissioner opening, that recent vacant seat. When we moved Robert Oxmacher from the alternate seat to the full seat, that vacant seat became available. We actually talked to both individuals and staff, along with the planning commission chair. We are recommending Jeremy Holt to be appointed by the town council. Jeremy actually applied at a previous round, and he made it to, when it was a bigger group, probably about 15 people applied, and he was second. He was runner up, I guess you would say. And then he actually came to the Citizens Academy that we just had and participated in that, and very, very excited to actually bring him forward and recommend his appointment. He's here tonight as well, if you'd like to say hello to him. And his seat would be, he would assume the same seat that Robert Oxmacher vacated, and that term would expire March 31st of 2025.
Okay. Any comments? All those in favor of passing resolution number 8, series 2022, a resolution appointing Jeremy Holt to planning commissioner alternate, say aye. Oh, wait, I need a motion first. Give me a motion.
I'll move to put Jeremy on the planning commission.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Jeremy, you barely clicked in there. Thank you for volunteering your service, and we really appreciate it. And also, I understand we had another excellent candidate. You might mention her name that we thought very highly of.
Yep, Wendy Newland was the other candidate, and interviewed both of them, and very well qualified and pretty excited. She wants to participate in the Citizens Academy going forward, and is going to look for other opportunities to engage with the town. So pretty excited about that opportunity.
And we will hope she continues to apply to things as we keep going along.
For sure.
Jeremy, thank you. Ordinance number 5, series 2022, an ordinance adopting campaign, Ordinance number 6, series 2022, an ordinance amending chapter 18, building regulations of the municipal code to remove amendments from the town's adopted 2018 International Residential Code pertaining to fire protection. Matt, we had a pretty good discussion of this first time. I mean, you're welcome to make any comments, but I didn't see anything in the report that looked any different.
No different. There was a couple little typos that I actually cleaned up in the actual ordinance language, but it was adding the word with, so it was a pretty minor change. So,
okay.
But yeah, they all the same. And if you have any questions, again, tonight is Eli Johnston is our deputy building officials here as well, if there's questions.
Great. Any comments from anybody? Melissa, do we have any public hearing? You did such a great job last time. You don't have to do anything this time. All right. Do I have a motion for ordinance number 6?
Yeah, I'll make that. I move to recommend approval of an ordinance amending chapter 18 building regulations of the municipal code to remove amendments from the town's adopted 2018 International Residential Code pertaining to fire protection of floors.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Ordinance number 6, series 2022, an ordinance amending chapter 18, building regulations of municipal code to remove amendments from the town's adopted 2018 International Residential Code pertaining to fire protection of floors. Resolution number 9, series 2022. I request the council to recuse me on this set. I have a very indirect lending relationship that's actually immaterial, but just in the view of being transparent and also to show no conflict, I'd like to recuse myself. So I think this requires a vote.
No, hearing, if you recuse yourself, hearing no objection, I would move that we go along with that and recuse the chairman.
I'll second that.
Yeah, with no objection.
Okay.
Then.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Rick,
Good.
take it away.
Okay, now we'll take up business, a resolution approving an assignment and addendum to amended and restated subdivision improvement agreement for Saratoga Falls, filing number 2, and future filings. I think, Kevin, you're going to
Yep. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So this is more generally some cleanup items with the Saratoga Falls SIA subdivision improvement agreement. The subdivision improvement agreement back in 2015 had some sections in there that were regarding fees and other things like that that kind of helped the development to restart back at that time that aren't really applicable anymore for their third filing. So this amendment removes some of those fees that are no longer needed for the third filing. It also actually adds in some requirements for landscaping installation, timing on that. And then it also updates the construction security requirements to be in line with the current criteria. The SIA right now specifically called out an older criteria, but now we're having it just reference the land use code, which when and if it gets amended at time to time in the future would then point it back into that direction and not a older outdated security requirement. So that's generally the genesis of the amendment, and I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
Yeah, I have a question. The developers in agreement with this?
Yep, we sent them over the proposed changes, and they had no concern with any of the proposed
They look
changes.
pretty simple. And
Yep.
As a somewhat general question, do we, this timetable for landscaping, is that something we generally have with all the subdivisions, or is this something that's newer coming along?
This is a newer thing that we have that we are going to try out with some of the newer developments as we kind of go forward. Since we had the developer at the table willing to make some changes to the SAA, we kind of wanted to throw this in there to see how this kind of plays out. But it is a newer kind of requirement that we've planning and engineering have kind of thought through to see about getting some the landscape improvements done sooner.
Okay, I like that change. I know we get a lot of questions about when is the developer going to landscape this, and why do I have all this weeds growing in my backyard kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's been a concern for us as well. And we will probably be talking with Lori about making that a permanent change to our form SIA for developments going forward.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
any other questions from the council? Do we have anybody else to speak from the developer or from the public?
Don't think so.
Say no, I'd entertain then a motion to move on this.
I move to approve the resolution.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. This is for resolution approving assignment addendum to amend and restate subdivision improvement agreement for Saratoga Falls, filing number 2 and filing future filings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes.
That was quick.
Thanks, Rick.
We're past our 27 minutes.
Do we need anything to say I'm coming back? Okay. All right. Resolution number 10, Series 2022, a resolution approving crossing agreement for Troc Trail. Brian.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the crossing agreement for the bridge that will cross the Timnath Reservoir Outlet Canal. We're currently building that trail. This is kind of a formality with the reservoir company. We kind of had a couple of conversations with them about whether it would fall under our Harmony Road crossing or if we needed a separate crossing agreement for it. So we kind of talked through that for a couple of months, and we ended up determining that we do need a separate crossing agreement. So this is that crossing agreement. It just basically grants us the ability to cross their ditch with the trail. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Anybody have any questions? Phenomenal, great presentation, no questions. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution approving a crossing agreement for the T-Rock Trail.
A second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Any further questions, comments from anybody? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Hey, Megan, if you got a sec,